Hello lovelies and welcome to my first share using the September kits. So I was very excited for this kit. This kit is it's really quite beautiful, very pretty. Now, before I got my kit, I was actually challenged to not use any white cardstock. Now, if you're new here, you might not know, I'm a very mixed media scrapbooker. So I tend to use mostly only cardstock as my base. I will go to town with my mixed media background and then add my photo, my embellishments. Sometimes I'll use pattern paper a little bit, but very rarely do I use pattern paper as my background, as my starting point. So that's what I really wanted to focus on today. That's what I wanted to really make sure that I did in this layout especially. And you know what? I absolutely love how this turned out. I couldn't love it anymore. So I picked two contrasting pattern papers. Now I knew what photo I was going to use when I picked these papers. And I'm using one as my background, and then the flower one I have ripped to make a top and a bottom section. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to fussy cut this piece. Fussy cutting gives me conniptions, it really does. But it was just beautiful and perfect and contrasted really well with this picture and it worked with this background and worked really well for my photo. So I wanted to add a bit more layering under the... I do it backwards, I swear. I know I should start with my smaller scrap first, but no, I go with my big one, glue it down, and then try and shove my little one under there. So I'd thought about the grey, ended up settling on the white, which is just plain white cardstock, but then I go back to the grey. Yeah, I wasn't happy with this. I haven't glued it all the way to the edge because I did want to fray that edge and give it some dimension. So it's not completely flat. I did go along and scrunch up the edge to give it a bit of texture and a bit of dimension. So as you can see, I'll go back in with the grey and I just layer it on top of the white, and it works. Until I rewatched this video, I actually forgot that I had the white there, because as I'm looking at the layout, it just looks like the white edge of the paper. So that worked out well. I decide not to, see, this is where I'm just scrumpling up the edges just to give it some texture and dimension so it's not all flat and stuck down. I decided not to put the grey down the bottom. I thought about it, but in the end, I thought it worked like this. I really liked it. So now I'm going with my photo, and I know I wanted to have it as a square. Now, I was lucky enough that there was a lot of negative space in the last third of the photo, so I was able to cut it down into a square. This is me trying to get the glue off. I tend to, when I use glue, I get it all over my hands because I'm the messiest scrapbooker you'll ever meet. And then when I'm cutting or whatever, I'm touching the photo and it's transferring tacky glue. So the glue's not wet enough for me to wipe off. It's tacky and almost dry, and it's basically in the imprint of my fingerprint. So yeah, you see me mess around with that for a while. To make my picture stand out, I'm matting it on some white cardstock. I thought about matting it again on some more pattern paper, but in the end I don't. I like the way the white makes the photo stand out from the background. It's enough. It really is. And I think that's because I have a lot of pattern paper going in the whole layout. So in the end, I just settle on my one layer of white cardstock, and then I'm going to mat it, I'm going to use craft foam to bump it up. So now the fun part. I'm going through the embellishments and seeing what I might want to use. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. This is where I'm trying to decide if I want to use more pattern paper. But like I said, I really do like just the white cardstock. It just really draws your eye into that photo. So now I'm going to use craft foam. Whenever I use craft foam, I tend to use wet glue. I find it works better. And when I have a photo like this, I do like to use craft foam to give it some dimension. Now, that's going to not only make my photo stand out from this layout even more, but then what it's going to do is when I go to embellish around the photo, it gives me somewhere to tuck my embellishments. Now, I knew I had an idea in mind, And I knew I wanted to use the flowers to cluster around my photo, and I knew I was going to tuck them under. So that's why when I use foam to bump up my photo, I don't go all the way to the edge. I give myself a nice border, and that gives me somewhere to tuck my embellishments. So now I'm just going through the ephemera pack, and I'm pulling out basically just the flowers and anything else that I might want to use in my little cluster. I knew I was going to make a cluster next to my photo. I used to struggle with flower clusters before my niece was born. Now she is the only girl I scrapbook. She's my only niece. And like I mentioned it many, many times, surrounded by boys. I have 2 boys. I've got 3 nephews. I've got my husband, the dog. It's boy city. So I didn't used to scrapbook girly layouts until she came along. Now she is a girly girl. You could not, like, these collections and these layouts are just perfect for her. So after she was born, I got a lot of practice in of getting my girly on, getting these flowery layouts happening. And yeah, I don't mind it. I actually enjoy doing it because it just suits these photos so perfectly. So I started with the one cluster on the one side. I made that myself out of the flowers. And I actually thought I was going to leave it on one side and just have it all over on the right-hand side. In the end, I decided to put clusters on both sides and completely surround my photo, which I'm happy I did because it looks really great in the end result. And one of the pieces in the ephemera was a much bigger cluster. So I just tucked that in on the left-hand side. I am using some foam in some places to bump up some of the flowers. And again, that gives me some dimension. But as you can see, I've put them on top of my photo as well. So I'm layering up my flowers, some tucked underneath, some on top, just to make it more appealing. It's not all flat and 2D. My cluster, yeah, is got some dimension in there. And it works. It really does. And then I've used some of those little tiny ones, and I'm just sort of sprinkling them around. So I've got the blue one on the right in the corner over here. So they're not attached to my cluster, but they're still, it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I really do like how these 2 little tiny flowers just on the left and the right just seem to be coming out of those little clusters, if that makes sense. They end up being just the perfect little finishing touch. So I've decided to use, I've gone through the title words to get my title, obviously. I go through them because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to use with my title. So I went through and just pulled out any words that I thought would work. And yeah, in the end, I kind of love my title. But before I get to that, I'm just going through seeing if there's anything else I want to add to this cluster. I thought about the butterflies, but it just didn't quite work. In the end, I stuck with the flowers. And then I do add a few little hearts, you'll see in a minute. The sticker sheet, I love the sticker sheets. I love it when the sticker sheets are coordinate. I really do. And I love the tiny words. Tiny words are one of my favorite things to add. And I love how collections always include them either on sticker sheets or cut aparts or something, because they're all themed and they coordinate beautifully. And I really do like that. And it makes it really easy to embellish your layouts. So this one just says sweetheart. And then I've just stuck that on top of my flower. I've added in some of those hearts, like I mentioned. So I've put a navy blue behind my sweetheart. In the end, I use the teal, like aqua, that one, near my title. So I'm going through the title words to find my title. I'm just picking out any words that might work. I was hoping to make a title out of them, but there was one word missing. Anyway, I end up going with my sweet, which is kind of perfect because she really is. And then I try and figure out where to put it. In the end, I go onto the pink pattern paper. The white strip up the top and the bottom, I didn't embellish them in any way because they're very, very busy. Any embellishment I had to put on top really would have gotten lost. So I have just completely left it. And all of my embellishing is focused around my photo, which is on that more muted, I want to say muted, but it's not really, but it's not as busy. It's more one color. So all my embellishing is really focused on that pattern paper there. So that's pretty much it for me for my first layout. I hope you have enjoyed watching this process, and yeah, I hope you like it as much as I do. I really love this layout, and considering there's no mixed media on it at all, not even splatters, I absolutely adore how it turned out. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back real soon. Bye for now.